Hello everyone, this is Scarzig, and welcome back to another episode of Duelyst. Today, we're going to be playing some Argeon. Now, let's take a look at the deck list I whipped up. The last time I ventured into Lyonar was for a kooky Arcanist Owl Punch list. This one is a bit more traditional, but with a few surprising minions in it. I talked a little bit the other day about the Windblade Adept nerf. The developers wanted to make room for other 2-drops, and I thought, what other 2-drops are there? And then I remembered Sunstone Templar. This is a card that, honestly, I, for some reason, thought it was 3 mana, but it's been on the garbage pile for so long that nobody's even really considered it. Sunstone Templar, for those of you unfamiliar, is a 2-mana 1/4 that has the ability that whenever it attacks or counterattacks, it dispels that target. Now, the dispel does go through before the damage procs, so it would be able to dispel a Sunsteel, for example, and deal 1 damage before it trades in. This thing used to have Rush way back in the day, and it was too strong because it was like a short range focused dispel with a body. And so now, since there's quote unquote more room for 2-drops, I figured I would give the Sunstone Templar a try, simply because you can summon it and zone your opponent out. It's pretty decent with Roar, becoming a 3/4, and every once in a while maybe we can hit it with Afterblaze, and then it just becomes a pretty sizable body that's also running around dispelling stuff. At the very least, you can allow it to trade into a target that you want before it dies, right? Because it'll die to an Owl Beast Sage, but at least you get to dispel it before it gets out of control. So anyway, 3 Azurite Lion, 3 Windblade Adept, 2 Scintilla, 3 Silverguard Knight, 2 Sojourner, 3 Suntide Maiden, 2 Ironcliff Guardian, 2 Second Sun, which is the 5 mana 0/8 with the ability of Zeal, gain +8 attack. This thing is absolutely hilarious. 2 Elix Stormblade and Peacekeeper. The theme for this deck is to run your opponent out of answers as quickly as possible, and then they can no longer deal with your threats. I think that that's always been the Lyonar game plan, but this deck really relies on that. We're forcing our opponent to deal with a lot of stuff. I've had Sunstone Templar take removal before. Azurite Lion is a great target for your opponent to use removal on. Suntide Maiden can be played in pretty tricky spots where your opponent might need to use removal on it, and then all the way up the ladder. The thing with Second Sun, right, is that if it gets dispelled, it's just a 0/8, and that's like really terrible. But with Roar, you still get your 2/8 on the board. It's kind of like when Argeon buffs a Tombstone, you just have like a really tanky guy that can still do damage. Afterblaze also takes a little bit of the sting away from Second Sun getting dispelled, and if it happens to stick, you hit it with Roar and suddenly you've got a 10 attack unit. For those of you who aren't as insane as me, Second Sun could easily be Dancing Blades. You can cut the Peacekeeper from the top of the curve to possibly have a 3rd Scintilla, a 3rd Ironcliff Guardian, or a 3rd Elix Stormblade as well. There was a very, very early version of this deck that was running Grandmaster Zir instead of Peacekeeper as well. And with a build like that, you don't have to fear going into the mega late game. And just quickly go over spells. We've got 3 Aegis Barrier to make our minions even harder to deal with, 2 Lasting Judgment. You could probably get away with putting in 3 if you made some cuts, if you had to make room for it, because it's a great way to deal with Circulus, opponents, Azurite Lion, basically any 2-drop, Ooze, Circulus I had already mentioned, cards like that, even Lantern Fox. So it's a really decent spell. And I think that if you were to run 3 of them, you could get some good value there. 3 Afterblaze, of course, because we have tons of Zeal minions with Suntide Maiden, Second Sun, Silverguard, Windblade Adept, and it draws you a card immediately as you play it. It allows us to keep our hand full. 2 Martyrdom for those really big things that we can't deal with, 2 Holy Immolation, and 2 Trinity Oath. I originally was just running 1 copy of Trinity Oath, trying to just because if I needed a little bit of card draw in the late game, but I found that in certain matchups I would need to dump my hand in order to keep the board stabilized, and so the two Trinity Oaths come in handy more again for card draw than for the actual healing. But I've been having a really fun time with this list. The Van Art matchup is very hard, I'm not gonna lie. I figured that people might experiment with some other stuff a bit more after the nerf on the Sunstone Templar. It's absolutely hilarious in the Vitruvian matchup because they can basically, you walk forward turn 1, you play your Sunstone Templar, and then they can't play their obelisks in the center. Normally Windblade Adept used to do that same job where its 4 attack plus your 2 general attack will allow you to kill an obelisk, but Sunstone Templar comes through for us. Okay, so right off the bat, we have Azurite Lion as a turn 1 play, and I think that this is fine because this will most likely get hit with a natural selection or something, and this way we can have the Suntide Maiden ramp and go into 4 with an Afterblaze follow-up. I really like this curve, so I think we're going to keep it. If I play the Azurite Lion here, I can still ramp onto this bottom tile, and it keeps it safe from Saberspine Tiger, right? Yeah. So we're gonna go for that because sometimes your opponent will do Saberspine Tiger Greater Fortitude to take out your 2-drop, and then it leaves them with a body on board. So I just want to play around that specifically. Again, 2-drop into natural selection is kind of bad for us here, but this is basically going all in on the curve that our hand gave us. It would be better if we replaced into like a Silverguard Knight or something. Okay, so yeah, so we did get our curve, so we can do this. Azurite Lion takes the mana, Suntide Maiden takes this center mana, and we're going to put Aegis Barrier on it. There's a second Aegis Barrier to combo with our Ironcliff Guardian, so already that's like amazing. I'm going to keep the Lasting Judgment because it could help us take out something else further down the line. Furthermore, Lasting Judgment is really funny in this deck because you can use it on your high HP minions like Second Sun, Suntide Maiden, and Ironcliff Guardian to give them an additional attack boost. Yep, so there's the Greater Fortitude. And this is what I'm kind of talking about with Suntide Maiden. Your opponent usually needs to jump through a lot of hoops in order to clear this thing because you need to one-shot it. And it's not that difficult nowadays, but at least we got another resource out of our opponent. Getting a Holy Immolation here would be absolutely dank. So in order to do that, I think I'm actually going to replace the Ironcliff Guardian. That's unfortunate. The Afterblaze is kind of cool, though. These are 2 Rebirth minions, and so that does need to be answered. Wish I had access to this top tile. But Afterblaze plus Roar could just let me get a really big hit in instead. What if we went that route? If we went Afterblaze Roar, that would give this thing +4. Be 6. That'd be 12 damage, and then you'd have to trade into it. I'm gonna go for it. Let's go the aggressive route. Holy crap! But yeah, that's what happens when Azurite Lion sticks on the board. And now the young Silithar can make this trade. If I were him, I'd have the Ragebinder make the trade, because if I can't kill this egg for some reason, when it hatches he'll gain 3 HP. Earth Sphere is also a great way to sort of invalidate this board. Lava Slasher would have been really devastating there. So that was a huge gamble on my part for sure. And here's the Holy Immolation a turn late. But I do have Lasting Judgment, so I can kill one egg and then Lasting Judgment the other. Although, quite frankly, I'll probably just kill the Ragebinder egg. And let the young Silithar rehatch, because I don't care about it that much. And then I can Suntide Maiden Aegis Barrier again. Try to play it in a safe spot so that the young Silithar can't trade into it. Oh, Metallurgist. That's another minion that's a really great target for Lasting Judgment. So if that's the case, I'm probably going to go Scintilla Lasting Judgment then. After I kill this this egg here. And my opponent's going on to 6 next turn, so there's really nowhere I can play the Scintilla where it wouldn't die to a War Beast. Or Lava Slasher for that matter. But we're just going to run this. Because our opponent's super low. It's just, I'm trying to hopefully keep up the pressure here. I'm not getting any of my later stuff. If I get like a Second Sun or Elix Stormblade here in the next couple turns, I should be able to close this out very quickly. And this typically isn't a tempo list, but I just happen to get a really aggressive combination on my opening. And as I already explained, that was extremely risky on my part, so probably Lava Slasher coming down here. Yep, there it is. Absolutely devastating counter for Scintilla. And which is one of the reasons Zoran really fell out of favor in the Ancient Bonds expansion because of this card. It kills Scintilla, it kills Sunriser, so Zoran really has a hard time getting things to stick to the board. I'm just going to... oh god. The best bet would be me drawing a 2-drop here, replacing the Martyrdom. I think with my opponent so low, it's probably better for me to do so. Yep, there's a 2-drop. Excelente. We can Windblade Adept onto this mana tile and Holy Immolation. And am I supposed to kill the egg here? Or do I just put him down to 2? Yeah, I'm gonna kill the egg. I suppose another question would be, yeah, I'm gonna roar the Windblade. That way, it takes out of natural selection range, and even though it won't kill the Lava Slasher completely, it'll still soften it up. It would be nice to have like Tempest or something in this deck to get a little bit of extra damage. And the other play I was considering there was using Aegis Barrier on the Windblade Adept, still playing around natural selection, but drawing a card. But I think that, yeah, even it's going to die to like War Beast and stuff like that, it was probably better for me to just, you know, just get the Roar, save the Aegis Barrier for one of my other minions so that it can stick. Yikes. So me and my opponent are both really low right now. Tempest would be really great, frankly, to take this out. In this particular situation, Sunstone Templar isn't that great. But we do get Suntide after Blaze, so that's kind of nice. Or Crikey. Now the question here, I've seen like the Golem synergy, he's probably running Juggernauts, so if he's able to just force me off of him with minions like this and then drop a Juggernaut, it's very unlikely that I'd be able to deal with it, so I'm hesitant to back off here. And the other problem too is that this War Beast is still alive and I can't take like another thing of damage like that, so I think I am going to back off. By Suntide Maiden plus Afterblaze, I'll have 10 HP. And so theoretically he has to trade his board, and the Afterblaze takes this out of Plasma Storm / natural selection range. Yeah, we've been getting a little bit of a trickle of card draw here and there. It would have been nice to perhaps get a Sojourner somewhere along the line, and Trinity Oath is really what I want to get here. I did have a version of the list. I was trying to squeeze in 3 copies of Trinity Oath, but it just feels like so clunky sometimes, where you usually don't have room, and you draw them a bit too often when you would really want a threat rather than a reload. So we'll see what my opponent does. He's done a really good job of buying time here, having these really big minions. That Lava Slasher turn was a huge swing. And I'm glad that I made the decision to kill that young Silithar egg rather than dropping him down to 2 HP because the heal was going to come through there. What's he got? Greater Fortitude. Damn. So, at the very least, Suntide Maiden took out the War Beast, weakened that Lava Slasher. There's the other Rage Binder for more heal. Dang. And you see here, this positioning he's making so I can't get like a nice AoE in. What's good though is that Windblade Adept after Blaze will allow me to Zeal again. It's just the same sort of thing, where I'm just trying to draw cards. Sunstone Templar, I'm gonna replace actually. Because it's like one thing, oh yeah, I can dispel the Rage Binder, but it's not really worth it at this point. Because I'm just trying to fish for threats rather than Sunstone Templar is better when you're ahead. And we're gonna, this is tough. It's like I want an Aegis Barrier to draw another card, but Second Sun Aegis Barrier is probably gonna be a better combo. That way he can't like Thumping Wave it or something. We'll see. There's my 3rd Aegis Barrier. Although, truth be told, playing the Aegis Barrier and drawing a card right then, rather than saving it, would have been a decent play as well. But he'll have to go in with a Rage Binder. The Lava Slasher's down. That got so much value that killed 3 things. So he's going to summon something right here to protect this egg. And then it'll hatch and he'll get more, Oh! So rough. Windblade Adept. I want to just summon this now. Better to have multiple bodies on board, because I can Windblade Adept and then roar. My opponent only has 1 card in hand, so it's like we're both like top decking against each other. It's just he happens to have, a stronger board. And when you and your opponent have the same number of cards in hand, it comes down to who's got the better board. So Second Sun looks like it'll be able to do a lot of work here because I've been kiting back with a lot of my minions. Getting my hands on my second Holy Immolation would be really good here too. I was thinking I'd be able to get away with just 2 copies, but I think that right now in the meta it seems that 3 is still necessary. And these Rage Binders are giving my opponent a lot of healing. Be just like if I had a Scintilla Stick on the board. But if I can get a Trinity Oath as well to get card advantage on him, and then drop like my my Elix Stormblades and my Peacekeepers and stuff, then we could really be in business here. Wow. That's really disrespectful. Okay, so we're gonna Azurite Lion Aegis Barrier to draw a card. Sunstone Templar, I'm sorry, my friend. We get Scintilla, and there's an Ironcliff Guardian. It's like we're slowly like starting to stabilize the board, but it just doesn't feel like we'll have enough time. And that's a natural selection, I think, on the Scintilla. Yeah. That's like the first thing of mine that he's actually been able to cast natural selection on. He's doing a fantastic job of positioning here to protect these Ragebinder eggs too. I'm going to concede this one, but I think that I was definitely punished for that like really all-in Azurite Lion play earlier. I could have maybe taken things a little bit slower. Typically Magmar decks are more aggressive, so I was hoping that me just having that super strong opening would force him into an awkward situation where he's playing an aggressive deck and he needs to stay in my face, and it would play into my hand. But it turns out he was actually playing like Keeper Voth with like healing and stuff. So he was just like, oh, I don't care about this burst damage, I'll just back off and outlast you. So had I picked up on that earlier and played that same drawn out game, we probably could have come up with a victory there. So sometimes you just have to go with your gut, right? You have to get a read, you have to go with what you think your opponent is playing and try to go all in on that. But I'd already talked about how that Azurite Lion play could have gotten punished by so much stuff. It must be the showman in me. But we're right on to the next fight here. This is Kara, probably going to be an Arcanist list. And the fact that she gets such fat minions combined with really cheap removal is really going to be an issue for this deck. I have taken victories off of Lyonar because sometimes they do draw very inconsistently where they'll get all of their removal, and if they don't get a Circulus to begin cycling with that removal, they'll just run out of cards super fast and you overwhelm them from there. I am going to keep this Elix Stormblade because I'm going second and I already have a bunch of other stuff in hand. Lasting Judgment, again, is a fantastic answer to Circulus, so we're going to hold on to that. There it is. And he played it all the way in the back, so now I get to play... I'm going to play Windblade Adept and answer that Circulus right away. So we're already off to a really good start. Sunstone Templar is actually really decent in this matchup too. Because even though he's going to be playing his Arcanists in the same spot, if I can get right on top of him and put the Sunstone Templar essentially next to his General, he isn't going to be able to really develop things safely. Like, even if he plays an Owlbeast Sage and buffs it, then the Sunstone Templar, again, can debuff its HP and then get a hit in. And so it's a really good thing we took care of that Circulus, because that would have been 2 spell procs for him. And that was his whole turn, just doing the Chromatic Cold Mana Death Grip combo. Quite frankly, he could have just walked forward, hit the Windblade Adept, and then Mana Death Gripped and saved the Chromatic Cold. So I think that that was a bit greedy on his part. But we're going to get the Silver Guard developed. Do I want to... Yeah, I think I do. And next turn, we'll be at 5. We can go up to 6, and then drop Elix Stormblade. Because he just used, you know, Chromatic Cold is a really important removal spell for Lyonar. Aspect of the Fox is basically going to be another threat that we need to run through, that we need to run him out of. Right, so that's 2 Chromatic Cold down. And that's actually not so bad, right? Because Silverguard Knight being a 1/3, I can still buff it with Roar. And, you know, then it's just a 3/3 and it can still get some pretty cool trades. Bone Chill Barrier, wow. So he did that to deny the mana to me. Kinetic Surge makes those into 1/3s. Which I don't particularly care about, but... Ooh. So that's a really good target for Sunstone Templar. So now... Now I'm just going to keep these Elix Stormblades as follow-up. He's only got 2 cards left in hand. You kind of see what I was talking about, where if they don't get their Circulus to stick, once they start dropping all of their removal and spells, and the Circulus isn't cantripping them for it, then they run out of steam really quickly. Like, the Snow Chaser would normally be a really big issue. And like right here, the Snow Chaser can just kill the Silverguard Knight and then go back to his hand, but... Sometimes, like I said, sometimes that's what happens with Arcanist, is they just draw really clunky like that. So we have time for another one. That was a really short match. Lasting Judgment, I think again that 3 could definitely be warranted for a deck like this. Snoo. Right, so Xerix, I was mentioning, gets like just completely blown out. Well, not completely blown out, but it's harder for them to deal with Sunstone Templar. It'll take a Falcius for you, and but Saj, you know, doesn't rely on that same sort of stuff. Now this is really nice. We get our opening with Azurite Lion. I think we can do the same thing we did last time, where we just play it in a defensive spot and use it to threaten the bottom mana tile. It's more unlikely that Saj is going to be playing like Saberspine Tiger, so I think that we can keep the Azurite Lion actually nearer the fight, and this will allow us to pressure Saj a bit more. Like if she summons a minion up here to threaten the top tile, Azurite Lion can take it. If she's playing like golems, then Azurite Lion threatens Celebrant tiles. So playing it forward like this is pretty good. Might have been decent actually to just play it here on the center tile, so I get even more like reach this way. Wow. So it gets to Zephyr. Right, so that she can start frenzying. And I have the Lasting Judgment that can kill that Zephyr. But because of the positioning here, I can hold off on using the Lasting Judgment. But Saj's positioning here does threaten anything that I develop on this mana tile if she if she uses a Falcius or something. So I think playing Sojourner is actually correct here. But I can't ramp up to 5. Because she can't walk onto any mana tiles either. So I think I just... Do I want to play Sojourner or just get the Scintilla developed? Probably just get the Scintilla developed actually, because I don't need the card draw this very second. After Blaze. Wow, so we might be able to pull off that same aggressive play. Have I learned my lesson at all? Have I learned my lesson at all? Or am I just going to go in with After Blaze Roar Lion? But I think we'll take it slow. Okay, I had a feeling that this would be the case with the Artifact Hunter. which is cool. She'll have access to Psionic Strike next turn. Let me see. So I can ramp up to 7, so I can actually Iron Cliff and then Lasting Judgment the Zephyr. And furthermore, well, is it worth it, or do I Iron Cliff Aegis Barrier? Probably better to Iron Cliff Aegis Barrier, because I don't know what artifact she drew. Backing off like that, probably Wildfire Ankh, so I wouldn't mind taking a shot. So I think... because if I ramp up, play the Iron Cliff Aegis Barrier, it has 10 HP. Sonic Strike would make her do 4, and then Zephyr would be 5, 6, 7, and that would trade in. So she would need to buff the Zephyr as well. So I think I am actually going to go for that play. And we're playing the Ironcliff Guardian here, so that she can't get a shot off on us. Right? If she wanted to equip Wildfire Ankh, she'd be able to double damage the Ironcliff Guardian and shoot this way. But now, even if she were to do that, then she has to hit up here. So this delays her equipping that artifact as well while I'm closing the distance. Scintilla is going to be moving in next turn. I'll have access to... I'll probably Afterblaze the Scintilla to give it a bit more HP. But we're in a really good spot. So, yep, Staff of Akir. Plus a Bloodborne spell. Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. Because the Zephyr, we'll still have to trade in here. Yep. And she still takes damage. Excellent. So taking away the Lasting Judgment, Peacekeeper is interesting. By Afterblaze, Scintilla would live with 1 HP. Or is it better to just trade in the Scintilla, get the Windblade Adept plus Afterblaze instead? I'm going to save the Azurite Lion to ramp up to 7 and probably play the Peacekeeper, because I don't think she has anything. Well, she could have Blood of Air, so that's probably not going to be a really good play. Yeah, so we're just going to do this dead. Get the Afterblaze in there. Roar. Creep the Azurite Lion up. Because if you're playing an artifact deck, this is the situation you hate to be in. When your opponent has a bunch of minions in your face, because she played super conservatively way too early. Like, she could have easily challenged the center with that Zephyr, in my opinion, even if I had walked forward and played Silverguard. Ooh, Star's Fury, really sweet. Alright, so that kills the Scintilla. She can use both of the Dervishes to kill the Windblade Adept. Probably would have been better to have the Dervish weaken the Azurite Lion. That way I can't get 2 hits on face onto her. Scintilla Sojourner might be a good play. I do need to respect Zephyr Psionic Strike, because she does have a full hand and she's going to have Bloodborne spell next turn. I think... play the Sojourner here with the Scintilla here. That way if she frenzies, she'll most likely attack the Sojourner, so it just does one attack. 1 damage, I mean. I'm gonna move the Azurite Lion here. Actually, that was really silly of me. I should have left the Azurite Lion here because she would most likely step up this way rather than into the corner. So having the Azurite Lion here would make it so I could get double damage. So misplay on my part. But that depends. Like if she, if the Artifact Hunter didn't pull Staff of Akir and it pulled Wildfire Ankh instead, then she'd probably want to Psionic Strike Wildfire Ankh and just clear this. I'm not really sure. Because artifact decks are really strong if you can get them up and running. Ooh, sneaky. I was not expecting the Time Maelstrom. So she can Time Maelstrom, Zephyr, and Psionic Strike. And she's going to attack the Sojourner like I thought she would. So I get to draw a card. And then she gets to clear this part, this board here. Really solid positioning. Wow. That was really good. Do I Peacekeeper here? She's not going to have access to Psionic Strike next turn. Like, I don't really have a read if she has, and this is the other problem with Vitruvian, right? Is, or rather I should say Sosh, is that because she can clear minions with her face, she doesn't need to use like hard removal spells. And I'm wondering if just playing the Peacekeeper would be too much of a tempo loss for me if it were to get answered. But let's draw a card. Silver Guard. That makes me feel a little bit better about my life. And now it's like, if these minions stick, then I just get to finish her off, and the Peacekeeper doesn't actually get to come down. I have had Peacekeeper save my damn life, though. There was one game I was playing with this deck while I was still in the initial testing phase, where I was up against an Abyssine player, and they had managed to like just completely run away from me and play 2 Shadow Sister Kalino, and I was able to drop a Peacekeeper down and AoE their Kalino because it has airdrop and celerity, so the Kalino couldn't get away. So it really helped. But in this particular situation, because we had, you know, such a good opening, we just went in. She targeted this space, so that kind of tells me she has, like, what, a Mara Healer? Oh, Azure Herald. Bit of healing coming through. Another Artifact Hunter. Wow. And she has Time Maelstrom, so this seems to be like a combo version. You can't take that 5 damage. Yeah, okay, well played. She's just saying that, yeah, there was nothing I could do there. We're going to use Roar on the Windblade Adept so that he can, you know, return to his former glory to close out this match. But, sorry we didn't really get to see anything crazy. Because I've had matches where I finished my opponent off. Before I started recording, I played a couple test matches, and they were really good, where I finished my opponent off with like a 10 attack Suntide Maiden and like a 12 attack Second Sun. But I probably would cut Peacekeeper to make room for one other thing, maybe a 3rd Suntide Maiden, just to you get more value out of Afterblaze, you get a better mid-game development, right? Because that's our only 4 mana minion. So ramping up to 4 might be good, but I'm kind of just thinking out loud. That's the deck. It's standard Lyonar fare, but Second Sun and Sunstone Templar actually are a lot more useful than I was giving them credit for, so I'm really glad I put them in. I will see you next time, and you have a good one. Oops, hang on. And you have a good one.